in the jungle.
You're at war with society.
Hi, Rom. How are you? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. I really loved you in With Love, so I'm happy to talk to you about a completely different role now, as Frank Lucas. So,
Right.
what attracted you the most to the character, and how did you approach portraying him at such an early stage in his life?
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest draw for me is being able to play Frank Lucas at this stage where I feel like the story really hadn't been told yet. And also just the opportunity to work with Forrest Whitaker, to work with Chris Brancato, to work with MGM Plus, really. I mean, I feel like they have so many shows that are, kind of like little kept secrets. Like From is a great show. This show is obviously great. So yeah, the opportunity when it came about, I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and Frank Lucas is a figure with a powerful legacy in organized crime. How did you prepare to bring him into your unique take in the role and also to differentiate him from different portrayals such as Denzel Washington's in American Gangster?
Yeah. I think the cool thing about the craft is that it's all subjective to your own perspective. And yeah, so I was influenced by Denzel just because he's Denzel Washington, but I didn't go seek out any advice or like watch the movie in the hopes of like, adding any his portrayal to what I was doing. But playing Frank Lucas at this age, it's like I get to approach playing him at a stage where no one has seen. We know of the story of Frank Lucas and how he took over the drug game in the 60s and the 70s, but we don't know how he got there. And so I get to sort of tell that story and set the table for what eventually happens is, he assumes that position.
Yeah, and his relationship with Bumpy Johnson is key in this season, particularly. So, how would you describe their dynamic and how does their loyalty evolve throughout the series?
Yeah, it's up and down, it's like a roller coaster. But the thing is that they're from similar places. And so I think, Frank Lucas looks at Bumpy Johnson as someone who has seemingly figured out how to transition out of the lifestyle that he had before. And I also feel like, Bumpy Johnson sees a version of him and Frank Lucas and this young, country boy make his way to Harlem and trying to make a name for himself. I think he sympathizes with that, with the just the cultural change and just the trauma he feels like Frank Lucas had gone through.
Yeah, and they're also kind of like in this 1960s Harlem that's filled with social changes and power struggles. How do you see Frank fitting into that context and what challenges he faces alongside Bumpy?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's obviously a huge thing during that time period. But as far as Frank being implemented in that particular storyline, we haven't seen that much yet. But I think what Frank has learned is that the rules are different here, are different in Harlem. And as opposed to when he was in North Carolina, where maybe he would be more reactionary and kind of put things in his own hands and try to get things done. But in Harlem, they have a system and they have like sort of politicized the drug game. And so, they have the five families, they have Bumpy Johnson. And so he's trying to navigate how to, be himself within these sort of confines. And, I think along the season, he learns a lot from Bumpy and how to do that.